Welcome in, Braves Today, bravestoday.com. He's Daryl Dapprich, or Double D as I like to call him, because I have a radio show and we call it Double D Mondays. However, when you hear this on a Monday, you'll be, I guess it could be Double D Mondays here on Braves Today. Since
Yes.
our resident Pirate fan. And so Daryl holds a special place in his heart for him. And so I thought I'd bring him on because we got the Pirate series that took place. And as much as we'd love to talk about the Braves winning the series, since this is a Braves Today pod, and how well certain people looked and how people started busted out of a slump like Kelnick is on fire and all that. The story of the weekend, Daryl, was Saturday, where all eyes, that if you're a Pirate fan, Brave fan, and even I'd say a National League fan or baseball fan, it was Skeens and Fried matchup at Truist, which, and I almost just said Turner just then, at Truist. And it was everything that you thought it would be. And if that umpire has a little bit wider zone like the Friday night guy, we probably would have seen some numbers that were off the charts out of both pitchers.
Absolutely. And just for a little perspective, from looking at how long I've followed the Pirates and have watched some pitching duels go through with the Braves. I was alive the last time they won the World Series. That's how old I am. I actually worked for the Pirates organization in 1989. I've seen some really good early 90s, Doug Drabeck and John Smoltz and some of that when they would, Zane Smith for the Pirates and Tom Glavine, two crafty lefties. I've had guys that were baseball historians for the Pirates that have covered the Pirates for 30, 35 years that said that pitching matchup Saturday reminded them of something in the 70s and 80s when guys used to duel like that. The era of the Tom Seavers and the Steve Carltons and all that. That's what that felt like to that guy that was in the press box that writes for DK Pittsburgh Sports, with Skeens and Fried going at it. And so it was special. I mean, that's the kind of pitching matchup that you just didn't see in the live ball era, when whatever they did to make the baseballs juicier, which they aren't this year. Their balls are dying on the track that look like they're 10 rows deep. I don't care about all that. I don't care if it was a rubber ball that we used to play with kids. Those two guys were throwing darts Saturday, and it was really, really fun to watch and special. If you were at Truist Park and watched that live, save your ticket stub or take a picture of it on your phone, I guess is how they do it now. Do a little, still shot. It was special. It really was. And I didn't get a chance to watch most of it. I was down on vacation, but got to see snippets and watched little pieces here and there. And it was what you see as far as the pitchers do. It was special.
It was, because I'll give a tip of the hat to Kelnick, who led off the game with a home run. And the reason being is because even Tom Glavine had said in the booth where he had mentioned, he goes, that wasn't a mistake. I mean, Skeens went up and over the plate, but a little bit off the plate, off the outside half. And Kelnick caught up with it. And anytime somebody swings that hard and meets a 99-mile-per-hour fastball, it goes a long way whenever it hits the sweet spot. And speaking of, because somebody said, yeah, but he got into one. Well, he had another hit, and he also got into another that was just short of the track, all of which were off of Skeens. So apparently Kelnick did his homework. He was the only one that was seeing the ball, because other than that, Skeens had a great day against the Braves. I mean, he had a few walks, but other than that, he had 6 innings pitched. He did give it up an earned run, which we talked about, that home run right there. Only a couple of walks, though. So his control is there for a rookie, which is unbelievable. And he had 9 Ks, only threw 102 pitches. Fried, right around the same line, 6 innings pitched, had an earned run, 3 walks, only 4 Ks though, but he did throw 103 pitches, and then they pulled him out. And it was one of those where you kind of hope, I don't want to see anybody hurt their arm or go too long prior to the All-Star break, Daryl, but it was one of those where it was like, do we have to take him out? Can we let him go 125? Can we let him go 130? Because Skeens was still tapping 98, 99 miles per hour when they pulled him out of the game. And Fried was still tapping 94, 95 when they pulled him out of the game. So they really had not lost anything. It's just that magic number now. Once you get to around 100 pitches, the chain's going to come out.
I give credit to the Brave scouting and sabermetrics department. This is the second game in a row that Skeens has given up a leadoff homer. and some teams have kind of gotten him early the first couple innings, maybe 3 or 4 hits, a run, and then, man, he locks in both games. After the third, you got nothing. He didn't do that his first few games, and especially that game at Wrigley Field he pitched about a month ago where it looked like they weren't even going to get a foul tip. So as the league gets used to him and scouting reports go around, they say get to him early and swing early. He's going to, but getting up in the zone at 99 and taking that 10 rows deep, Kelnick, that's impressive. As far as the pitch count, I'm shocked. Derek Shelton is a very, very conservative manager a lot of times with how long he lets like Mitch Keller, this Jared Jones kid that's in the Pirate staff that's really a good pitcher, Quinn Priester when he's been pulled up. They get to 80, 85 and he panics and starts pulling people.
Yeah.
I mean, he just has pampered and babied these guys. To let Skeens go to 100, tip of the cap, I'm glad. Because I think Skeens is built a little bit differently. He's talked about how he needs to get his arm in the kind of shape he needs it to be in. He needs to get extension into games. I went down and watched him pitch in the Futures game in spring training in March, and Jackson Holiday was on the Orioles. Skeens was on the Pirates. He threw 12 pitches, and Shelton pulled him. He threw 1 inning. We were all down there, all excited, wanted to watch his Futures game, and the Prospects game. It was not a Futures game. Yeah. And he threw 12 pitches, struck out the side, and was done. And we didn't get to see him pitch again the rest of the night. So I'm glad that they're utilizing him. Fried, I think, probably longer leash, right? Not a rookie. Lefty, kind of has some history with, I know he's had some arm issues and all that, but I think probably just by the fact of being a veteran pitcher, they probably trusted him to go 10 or 15 more pitches than Skeens. I was shocked to see him go 100 pitches. Shocked. Yeah. Because Shelton is just, he's scared about that. And I get it. That's the prize franchise, the cornerstone of the franchise. And Garrett Cole, Ben, when Garrett Cole pitched and Clint Hurdle was the manager, Clint Hurdle said, I got to see if he can throw 110 pitches. Because Garrett Cole started in the wild card games, game 2 against the Cardinals in the divisional series. Hurdle knew to ride that horse, and he wanted to see in June if he could throw 110 pitches in October. Now, I don't know if this ball club is going to get to October, but that's what you got to kind of see now. So I was pleasantly surprised to see both go deep.
Well, I will say this: there from a Pirates fan perspective is, and we'll go ahead and jump to that. I'm going to get back to Skeens here in a little bit because it was something else that stood out to me. But the Pirates are 3 games back in the wild card and close enough in the overall Central that if they go on a run with the likes of the pitching staff that they have, they could be. I guess they could maybe catch Milwaukee. And so he's going to have to get out of that comfort zone in the second half of the season. And these guys are going to have to go 110, 115 pitches, especially, when you and I think Skeens could have done it because he still had full control. He had 2 walks. So he's not giving up hits. He's not giving up bases on balls. He's not hitting guys. And so at what point during the season does his management or his staff pull him to the side and go, look, we got to let these guys go a little bit longer because we're in the hunt, and clearly the best pitcher in the dugout is him. So and if you're going to make a run, I mean, some people don't do that. You saw what happened with Strasburg years ago with Washington. Here they were in playoff contention, and they shut him down at the end of the year. So they were looking big picture. Turned out wasn't worth it because he ended up getting out of baseball anyway because of arm trouble. So they probably should have taken the wins while they could. However, I'm kind of curious if the Pirates get in that same situation where got the Cardinals next, they catch them in the wild card, then they're maybe 6.5, 7.5 back of Milwaukee, and then a couple of games going in, they win a few going into the All-Star break before they come out and maybe get hot. What do the Pirates do as far as that staff is concerned and letting them go a little bit longer?
Timely question, because Ben Sherrington, their general manager, was asked 2 weeks ago by a local reporter, what is your plans in the second half for Jared Jones and Paul Skeens specifically? I think they feel like Falter, who got the win today, he's a veteran, and then they've got Martin Perez, who can go. He's a veteran. But the Jones and Skeens, who are both rookies, are you going to use them in the second half and pitch them deep into games to try to get you into the playoffs? And Sherrington, to his credit, said yes. They're a big part of our future. And in order for us to get to the playoffs, we've got to have them in the second half. There will be no shutting down. There will be no innings limitations, none of that. We're going to have to let them pitch in the second half to get where we want to go. That's part one of the equation. Now, he says that, but what he needs to do is get off his rear end and get a bat or two.
Yep.
I mean, man, it is so frustrating to see some of these games that Skeens and Jones are pitching, giving up 2 runs in 7 innings in the Pirates bullpen when Bednar wasn't hurt, and the way Chapman is freaking throwing. They are losing games 3-2, and the bats just, they need, besides Reynolds, they got to get some guys going. Tellez is starting to hit the ball again, which is but if they don't get another bat or two and address the offense, then you might as well put them on an innings limitation, because it's not going to do any good. But the plan is let them pitch in the second half as many innings as they're pitching now, because they need them to be catalyst. And they're not talking about going to a 6-man rotation. I've heard that rumor, because then they pitch every 5 days instead of 4. They're going with their 5-man, and they're going to let them pitch their normal turns.
It's all brought to you by Plains Coffee. Go to plainscoffee.com, promo code BRAVES, get your 10% off. They don't roast the beans until you make the order, ship them right to your door. Also, you can get flavored coffees. If you don't like coffee, then you get tea. Just go to plainscoffee.com. We'll save you some money by entering the promo code BRAVES and get your 10% off. All right, I'm going to get the a DAP rant here, hopefully, because I know that you'd said you were in and out, not able to see all of it. There was a point in the game, late in the game, who the guy that I love that you guys have, Cruz. I told you that last year when we did this. One of my favorite players on the Pirates club. Just anytime somebody's that big and can move that way and throw the ball that hard and have the ability to stretch a routine single into a double, just because he's like a giraffe running around the bases. He, late in the game, has a mental block and gets a called strike on him because of the pitch clock. And the Braves announcers even made reference to it. They said, honestly, with the management that's in the dugout for the Pirates, we're a little shocked that we see him coming back out here at the bottom half of the inning to play defense, because that just was a mental mistake that you just can't make in a 1-1 game when you're that talented. Is that just something that was just a freak thing, or does he get caught loafing every now and then and kind of checked out of a ball game?
He checks out mentally of ball games. It's the 3rd time this year he's made a mental mistake. The second one, Shelton got on him pretty good as he reached the top step of the dugout. It was something that he held the ball on a cutoff throw and didn't throw home when he could have, or threw to the wrong base. There was a ball he hit off the base of the wall that he kind of Cadillac a little bit and should have been at third and was on second earlier. So look, here's, and this is where Braves fans can relate to this.
Yeah, we had Acuna doing these kind of things.
And Andrew Jones did it in his career, and Bobby Cox lost his freaking mind. And if I'm remembering correctly, didn't he call timeout and pull him out of the game? Or he Billy Martined him in the middle of it. He Billy Martined him and pulled him out of the game. And Andrew Jones later on said that was crucial in his career. It woke him up a little bit. Look, you can't have those kind of mental lapses of what I call mental laziness. There's physical laziness of not hustling out a ground ball or that kind of thing. And then there's the mental laziness of just not being sharp and being locked in mentally and focused. I think it needs to be addressed. And I think the best way to do it, maybe he didn't want to embarrass him. But see, I don't think it sends a strongest message, Ben, when you wait until the next game when Pittsburgh plays tomorrow and he doesn't start. I don't think that sends as strong of a message as innings over, and now you're not going back out there for the 7th, 8th, or 9th, or whatever it is. I think that sends more of a message to a young player like that than waiting until the next game is to not show him up. The way I look at it is if you do something like that and you're not mentally sharp, you're showing up the organization, and there has to be some sort of consequence with that. There just does.
Well, I said, it was funny because I'm texting a buddy of mine, and I said, well, the perfect thing happened for him because he struck out to end the top half of the inning. So he dropped his bat and his helmet and his gloves at the plate and then headed out to his position so somebody could pick him up. So he didn't get the opportunity to get back to the dugout, get chewed at the top step like you're talking about, possibly say something he shouldn't, which would have his rear end on the bench the rest of the night, because if he would have said basically anything, if he hadn't sat there taking it, then he probably would have been yanked. So honestly, ending the top half of the inning may have been the best thing for him And one of the worst things, like you said, where it doesn't do any good if now they say something or sit him for the first time through the lineup during the Cardinal series or something like that. By that time, it's like your kid getting in trouble and you wait a couple of days before you spank them or before you ground them or before you take their phone away. And then by that point, they're sitting there going, why am I in trouble again? Like they don't get it. So it was interesting. I thought of Acuna loafing on some balls, early in his career, and which I think is hilarious for Braves fans because they say he loafs, and then when he hustles, they're like, "Why is he running so hard? We need him for the rest of the season."
Yeah. And then Andrew Jones, like we said, in center field. I mean, I'll tell you this: I think that Kutch probably has a conversation with him tonight after the game. I think that's how he is very much a vocal leader, and he will probably have a one-on-one and really let the kid know, look, that's just not what you're supposed to. That could have cost that. That's a big moment of the game. It's not how we play the game. And I'm sure that Kutch will probably have some words with him to get that cleared up.
I used that example to get the DAP rant because now I'm going to brag on a Pirate, and I'm going to go back to Skeens because it was brought up in the Sunday afternoon game where he was interviewed during the game. That was a Roku game. Again, Major League Baseball. Why are you spreading everything out where it makes it so hard to watch baseball? You and golf. It absolutely unnerves me. But they caught a shot of him visiting with Charlie Morton and Chris Sale in the outfield prior to the game. And then they asked him, they said, what'd y'all talk about? And he said, I grew up watching those guys. They're kind of like heroes of mine, being in the Southeast and just being a pitcher. And he said it was one of those deals where I just asked him about situations. He went out there basically with a notebook in his brain, asking them tons of questions and notes. So that's the total opposite of what we saw checking out mentally with Cruz. On the other side of things, it's Skeens who's out there taking all kinds of mental notes from two guys that have done it for a long time, a 35-year-old Sale and a 40-year-old Charlie Morton.
And Pittsburgh doesn't have the luxury of having somebody like that on their staff, right? They got Jared Jones. They've got Mitch Keller, who just finally is learning how to pitch in the last 2 years, to be perfectly honest, had all the tools, but just figured it out last year. Mm-hmm. They got Martin Perez, who can't stay healthy. And they have Bailey Falter, who, let's be honest, the Phillies were excited as could be to get rid of him. And so he doesn't have that mentor or that guy on the staff that has, been a 20-game winner or been in the league for 10 years, has been an all-star for a couple of years, that he can get that kind of advice situationally from. And so that's nice that he reaches out to other players, and credit to Morton and Sale for being willing to answer and so into him. That's pretty special. And, Morton being a former Bucco, a lot of the Pirate fans really hold him in high regard because he was the start of the pitching staff that started getting things turned around with Russell Martin, who was the catcher. Yeah. And to be quite honest with you, when I watched Skeens throw early this year, and I knew he had velocity, but I saw that late movement, the first pitcher that came to mind to me, not from a velocity standpoint, but remember, Morton threw a lot of pitches that look like Frisbees with some of the movement that he has. It's just ungodly. And how you control that and where you use that and spot that in the zone. Because as you know, you start that inside and it comes back over the plate, or you start it where you can barrel it up and get on the outer half. It can be a detriment to have that much movement if you don't utilize it and harness it. Morton has learned to do that. So that's great. And I think that's a testament to what kind of guys Sale and Morton are to sow into a young pitcher like that.
The Braves could have been scouting the Pittsburgh Pirates this weekend. They need a couple of things. Number one is probably a corner. We don't know what a corner outfielder. We're not real sure where Duvall is. If they're looking at possibly making some sort of change, get somebody in right. I think Kelenic has proved even when Harris II comes back, he's going to be an everyday player just because he has been on fire over the last month. A couple of people that the Braves may have been looking at is Reynolds, the outfielder for the Pirates, Joe also. And then from a pitching standpoint, I'd say they were probably looking at Holderman. And the other one is Chapman, who's in the last year of his deal. So it may be something where if the Pirates ended up getting, going backwards, they may be willing to make a move to, like you said, maybe get some bats in the lineup for the future.
I think 3 of those 4 are, definitely obtainable and reasonable if the Pirates fall out of the race. But the Pirates are going to be looking for some of those same things, probably a corner outfielder. They were going to be looking for a first baseman, but Rowdy Tellez has started to hit the ball a little bit better. They're very high on Connor Joe because he can play first base and right field. I think Reynolds is an untouchable because he had such a team-friendly contract last year to sign the extension, and he's really hitting the ball well. But Chapman's perfect down the stretch to always flip for prospects. Every team does it, and then he goes and plays for a contender. If Pittsburgh's not in the race, late July, early August, Holderman, Chapman, and Joe are three names that are absolutely, I think, on the trade block. I think Reynolds is a guy that they're not going to move. He's a cornerstone, a building block. Same with Ke'Bryan Hayes. They like their catcher, Bart, who came over from San Francisco, who's been hurt the last month. I think he helps Pittsburgh without him in the lineup. Mm-hmm. And I think Bednar, who I wanted them to move last year, has now become a little bit untouchable. But other than that, and they've got a little bit of a log jam in the middle infield, which Atlanta doesn't need, but maybe another team does to get that, because the Pirates have like 4 or 5 guys that are rotating between shortstop and second, and they've got guys waiting in the wings, high prospects. So I think the Braves, a guy like Chapman makes a lot of sense for the Braves, and Connor Joe, who can play right field and can also play first base, is very, very versatile. But right now, the Pirates are the ones that need to be buyers. And if they're 2, 3, 4 games back of the wild card, 3rd week, 4th week of July, I think they'll be buyers. If they're not, then you'll probably see them sell, and people will go back to the whole Bob Nutting is cheap stuff and hang him at F and G, because it's terrible. It's been 9 years, and this team has a chance if they go get a couple of bats. But the problem is, Ben, and I know this is great for baseball, too many teams are freaking in it still.
Yeah.
Everybody's in it. I mean, there's like 4 teams you look at and go, they suck. They ain't getting in. The White Sox, the Rockies, whatever. I mean, heck, even the Mets now have made a run. And if you'd have told me a month ago that the Mets may be potential buyers, I'd have laughed. Too many teams are still in it past the trade deadline. And it really hamstrings you with this extra couple wild cards and the way everybody's in it right now.
Well, and the Braves, of course, the wild card, they're in great position there, but you've got Schwarber and Harper that go on the 10-day IL, and that will be during the Braves series. So the Braves will face the Phillies during that 10-day stint whenever they're sidelined. So the Braves are sitting in a prime position to be able to jump up there and pick some numbers up as well. So it's a funny game. I love it this year. That is, everybody always asks for parity, then they finally get it, and everybody's complaining about it. So it's kind of crazy because it's almost like they want to see the Dodgers and they want to see the Phillies or they want to see the Mets in it, and everybody else is just playing for basically lackluster TV numbers, and it gets a little frustrating because once we get down the stretch, Daryl, you'll see every Sunday night baseball game will be a Dodgers game. I can promise you that.
I mean, I get so tired of that, and I get it. I'm from a small market team but I mean, there's so many other great stories in baseball this year, and the Fox game and the ESPN game, Yankees and Mets, Dodgers. I mean, I'm going, give us. I mean, the Brewers, the Red Sox got as hot as anybody, and they used to be a TV favorite. They can't get on national television. The World Series champion Rangers. I get it. They do all kind of analytics and all that, but it's frustrating. Here I am now screaming at those kids, get off my lawn. I missed the game of the week on NBC when they used to spread it out a little bit and try to show everybody.
Well, I said that. I tweeted that earlier today as somebody tweeted out, once we were a proper baseball community, when we had baseball tonight every night, it was an hour long. There was a 5-man panel, and then they broke down everything that took place baseball-wise that day. And if you're a baseball nut, it was great. I get that there are a lot of other people that didn't like it, but I say bring it back. I would love to see it. So, Daryl, as always, I know you're a Pirate guy, but we'd love to hear your take on what you guys think as far as Pirates are concerned, as well as what you think on the Braves. And we'll see. We'll probably have you back before it's all said and done with, because I just got a sneaky suspicion that the Pirates team, even if they don't get a bat, they have the potential to start hitting the ball a little bit better, and they got a chance to make a run, because just don't know what the Cardinals are going to do. Also, see how schedules shake out, and then the Brewers may end up brewering, as well as the Mets are always going to Met. So there's slight opportunity. There's hope for you, Daryl.
I hope so. I enjoy this. Thanks for having me. Love to come back on. Love talking baseball. And For the Braves fans, there's some bats that came alive this series. I think there's some real optimism, some guys coming around a little bit, swinging the stick. So watch out, Philadelphia, especially with those two dudes hurt, like you mentioned.
Man, I sure hope so. Head over to bravestoday.com. All the information you need and all the latest articles. He's Daryl Dapprich. I'm Ben Taylor for Braves Today, all brought to you by Plains Coffee.